Hey everybody, Dr. Rob here. Hope you all had a great weekend. We're back at it, Facebook Live. Interesting weekend, spending it at home, eating good food, exercised every day. Hope you did too. Again, feel free to have any of your shout outs. I'll say this a few times because people check in during the course of the live. So shout out, let me know where you're from, let me know how you're doing. Ask any questions you like, make any comment. Let me know how many of you want to see my wife cut my hair because I need a haircut really bad. We're trying to get some barber scissors. More so than that, again, just let's give a little shout out. This weekend I had a huge webinar through Functional Medicine University, Immunity and Health. Natural perspective for a new paradigm. We had 600 docs, all integrated from medical doctors down into nutritionists. Great feedback, a lot of cutting edge information that we shared. They've requested a part 2. So again, we're sharing information all the time so you guys can get it here first, because a lot of what I gave them was a compendium of what we do over here. On the live. Once again, feel free to shout out. Let's get that reel going. Let me know where you're from. Ask any questions that you like. I touched my face. I know that was bad. Got an eyelash in there. What I wanted to talk about today was the cytokine storm. Now, we've talked about it before, and you've heard a lot of people discuss it. But there's some interesting new information and new thought processes. So we knew the cytokine storm is cytokines are released at the time of inflammation. Unfortunately, they are released in an excess in a lot of people who get the virus COVID-19. And when you have an excess of these cytokines, you're too inflammatory. In addition to that, one thing that I want to make clear, I think is really important for everybody to understand, is that if you're already inflamed, that's why these comorbidities are a problem, and your inflammation is elevated, and now you have this virus and these extra cytokines come in. It's like all this extra water in a glass that's half full and it spills over, and that's where you get all the negative health effects, all those damaging health effects. But something that really more so than that just came to my attention over the last 36 hours is one particular marker, and it's a cytokine that is released, and it's called interleukin 6. Interleukin 6 is a very unique interleukin because this may be the real bad guy. He may be the sheriff of all the bad guys. He may be in charge of it all. So there's a study that just came out that I want to share with you. It's interleukin 6 in a severe case of COVID-19. They had 69 severe COVID patients that they studied. The symptoms were in a very typical order of fever, number 1, cough very close. So we always know fever and cough. By the way, people have mild or moderate, oh man, my goodness, I'm playing with my eye, I'm sorry. Mild or moderate symptoms. They had fever and cough. Both of these were 2 of the highest symptoms. In addition, shortness of breath. So shortness of breath was a differentiator between moderate and mild COVID-19. So they had a high level of shortness of breath and fatigue. So you're really seeing really bad flu-like symptoms. The common comorbidity in these patients, believe it or not, was hypertension. And that hypertension poses an issue. Hypertension, high blood pressure. It's one of the reasons why men are afflicted more with COVID-19 than women. Men have a tendency to have a little bit higher hypertension. There was a question that was asked on the webinar. Very interesting. They said, my blood pressure's good, it's 120/80, but I'm taking 2 different kinds of hypertensive medications. Am I susceptible, or are these comorbidities? And yes, the answer was I went to a medical doctor. I'm not medical, as you all know, I'm a chiro. I asked the medical doctor, and the medical doctor said, yes, that is a comorbidity. In fact, the medication, which they say do not stop, makes you even more susceptible from their symptoms. So common comorbidity, once again, is hypertension. Interleukin 6 was raised with everybody who had the highest body temperature, highest fever. So a direct parallel correlation between the two. It was also elevated with people who had C-reactive protein, which is tissue inflammation, LDL cholesterol, and D-dimer, another inflammatory marker. So you're seeing this interesting, prodigious parallel between an elevation of interleukin 6, the symptomology, hypertension in all the blood markers. So again, interleukin-6 was a problem. The conclusion in the study was with 69 patients, which is a lot now, believe it or not, for the COVID studies. I mean, we're seeing studies coming out and being pre-published with 4, 9, 16 patients. Now we have one with 69, which is relatively substantial, certainly in comparison to some of the other studies that we're doing. The conclusion was very simple. The dynamic change of interleukin can be used as a marker for, or interleukin-6 can be used as a marker for severe COVID-19. So having said that, we now know that maybe the medical doctors want to be able to test for interleukin. It's a simple blood test. It's one that everybody can do. So now that we talked about the problem, did we get any shout outs yet?
Yeah, Creator Chiropractic, stop touching your face.
I'm trying to stop touching my face. I have an eyelash in my eye. I should have put my gloves on, but I washed my hands, and everybody knows how important that is.
You have Creator Chiropractic too. So the successful treatment of hypertension does not increase the risk of contraction?
Well, again, we don't have a lot of studies. I had to ask a medical doctor. Basically, what they said was it is a comorbidity, even if your hypertension is 120/80, but you're taking medications to get there. So that was the takeaway. So they're trying to say that it doesn't count. You're being treated for hypertension, so therefore you perceived as somebody that has hypertension in this scale. Again, medical doctor that told me that. I'm not speaking to the medicine.
Solmer wants to know, does amoxicillin help treat COVID-19 symptoms?
Well, again, we're not going to talk about any of the medications or anything. There's been so much conversation yet. Some interesting things. It appears that what we're talking about, certainly in the supplemental form, in the pill form, and maybe even in the IV form, is going to help people with some of the symptomologies of it. We good? All right, keep them rolling in. Give me a shout out. Let me know where you are.
Bill Corrigan, Leslie Rose Belio.
Hold on, Bill, what's up? How are you? Hope all is well. It's been a long time. Bill and I went to chiropractic school. He's sworn to secrecy because, as you all know, I'm just a calm, cool, collected person. Hey, Leslie, how are you? I'm doing it, Les.
Marjorie Silver.
Hey, Marjorie, how are you? Long time. Marjorie, we know each other 40 years.
David Mann.
Hey, how are you, Dave?
Martin Fadi.
Fadi, my man. How you doing, Fadi? From New Jersey.
Shoshani.
Hey, Shoshani, how are you? Steve, what's up? My favorite chiropractor down in Soho, none better.
Mike Powell, of course.
Hey, Mike Powell. Mike, are you in the sauna and watching this again? I mean, seriously.
Mike and Libby, I cut my husband's hair.
But really? Well, I may have to do that. You know, my wife said that she wants to actually do the shaver. So, you know, if we're inside long enough, it'll grow back. I'm a little scared of that. Okay, so interesting that we talked about the interleukin-6. A lot of people want to know, well, what is it? Well, not only is it a problem in COVID as a leading edge concern, interleukin-6 is also a biomarker for increased lower back pain. So as a chiropractor and all the chiropractors out there, if we were to take blood work, we're going to get lower back pain. So for all of you at home, think of all the people that are going to have lower back pain if they get infected or infected with the flu, the virus, if you will. So it's a marker for inflammation. It's a critical marker. So what are some of the things that I would recommend to take to decrease your incidence of the elevation of interleukin-6? Well, one, good quality foods. We're going to talk a lot about foods. Once again, can't get away from it. No gluten, no dairy. Reduce your sugar. Fruits and vegetables, good quality fishes, good quality grass-fed meats. Interesting. And everybody knows it. Creator Chiropractic has it. Dr. Shoshani also has it. Low-level laser, myoconia laser, has shown in different studies to decrease interleukins. So interleukin-6 most is affected by what we call the violet light, or 405 nanometers. So if you want to decrease interleukin-6, there's a couple of studies in 2015 that showed that the 405 nanometer light helped with that. Nobody's saying that we're going to fix the virus. We're not giving any medical diagnosis or any medical treatment. We're just talking about the literature and some things that are possible for us to try. So the violet light 405 really was shown to decrease interleukin-6. The whole storm would benefit if you took a red laser, of the nanometer of 635. So 635 helps decrease inflammation and decreases the other interleukins. So if you have a violet or a red, or violet and a red together, that's going to be your choice. And of course, we use the Erconia lasers, so I'm a strong recommender of those lasers. I actually have them. My wife and I are lasering each other every day. In addition to that, one of the key elements why it works so well is because of the pathway called the NrF2 pathway. This has been a pathway that we've talked about for 3 or 4 years that, again, yesterday came to the forefront. It is a key antioxidant pathway. It works in what we call phase 2 of detoxification in your liver. So you want to upregulate the NrF2 pathway. One of the best ways to upregulate the NrF2 pathway would be low-level laser therapy. It's on my list. Now let's talk about some foods and supplements that we've seen also to stimulate the NrF2 pathway. Number 1, L-glutathione. L-glutathione stimulates the NrF2 pathway. It's the master antioxidant. Nothing better than using L-glutathione as a starting point. Fish oil, DHA, also been shown to upregulate the NrF2 key antioxidant pathway. Curcumin or turmeric. Now you can get that in an herb. You can get that in a supplemental form. I recommend taking both.
Jeremy Shingen.
Hey Jeremy, how are you?
He wants to know if you really want to decrease interleukins, considering they are essential to proper immune responses in community.
Interesting, yes. So
I think he meant immunity.
Yeah, he meant immunity. So basically the question was, I'll repeat it. Sometimes some people said they don't hear the questions if I don't repeat it. So the question was a very good one is, there's some concern that if you decrease the interleukins, that poses a problem because interleukins are released as pro-inflammatory, and initially at low levels, they're there to help healing and to ward off. The problem, we're talking specifically about the cytokine storm. When there's too many interleukins, and one of the ones that's so damaging, deleterious, is the interleukin 6 in excess. So if that's the case, or they're there for too long, we want to manage and modulate and decrease the release of them because that's what's damaging a lot of our organs. So getting back to the great question. Getting back to the curcumin and the turmeric, that's really shown to upregulate, again, the NrF2 pathway and decrease the NF-kappa B pathway. That NF-kappa B pathway is what releases all these cytokines and interleukins, so therefore it works at its base idea. By the way, interleukins are not stealthy footprints. You'll know it because you'll be inflamed and red and hot. You'll just get more hot. You'll get more inflamed. Some liquids that I recommend to drink: green tea extract. Green tea, not necessarily black tea. Green tea is shown to increase the NrF2 pathway. And my favorite beverage, no, I don't drink, it's coffee. Java, without question. A great organic coffee, 2 to 3 cups a day, has been shown without question to largely increase, copious amounts, if you will. Copious amounts of coffee will increase the NrF2 pathway. So that should make everybody happy. That's not a frappuccino. That's not one with a lot of sugar. That's good old black coffee.
Creator Chiropractic, why do NrF2 pathways decrease as we age?
That's a great question. You know, and they decrease in age. One, unfortunately for all of us, and I'm in the mix, the pathways slow down as we age because it's part of our degeneration process. Now, other reasons is because we're not actually stimulating those pathways with specific supplements, and a lot has to do with the pollutants and lifestyle that are coming and attacking us to decrease that phase 2 in liver. So we have to decrease a lot of the toxins that are out there because it damages that particular pathway. I got to tell you, nobody, if you have any questions, go to Creator Chiropractic. Nobody knows more about stimulating the NrF2 pathway than Dr. Mike Powell.
Eric Perez, he wants to know, what about milk thistle, bacoba, and ashwagandha to help you regulate the NrF2 pathway?
Somebody wanted to know about milk thistle, bacoba, and ashwagandha. It's right here. That was great. Absolutely. I didn't even get down the whole list, but you're right on it, and that's great. Big thumbs up. Sulforaphane also. Sulforaphane's a great choice. Sulforaphane comes from all your cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, and the such. They have sulforaphane in their raw form. If you chew them or cut them, you release sulforaphane. If you cook these cruciferous vegetables, they lose an enzyme called myronase. If they lose myronase, they lose about 60% of their sulforaphane. So I'm a big proponent of sulforaphane because sulforaphane, again, upregulates the NrF2 pathway, and sulforaphane is great for the blood-brain barrier. We spoke about coffee. Ashwagandha root also increases the pathway. Milk thistle and bacoba, all great choices. And let's not forget caloric restriction. When I talk about caloric restriction, we're talking about, not gouging yourself when you're home. Most people are just, calling me up and saying I'm at 1,800 calories to 2,400. They're doing a great job. And others are saying that they're just going for it. They're shoveling. Obviously, one, you don't want to overeat. And you overeat, you raise your blood sugar. You raise your blood sugar, you get your insulin resistance up. Inflammatory markers start stimulating. NrF2 doesn't function quite as well. When I talk about caloric restriction, we're also talking essentially about intermittent fasting. Because within an intermittent or time-restricted eating, you are going to actually eat a little less. People don't realize that. So if I close your window from 16 hours of food to 10 hours of food, you're just not going to eat as much. And that's okay, because if you pick good foods in that 10-hour window of eating, time-restricted eating / intermittent fasting, you don't need to eat as much because you'll have more satiety, a sense of fullness, because you have nutrient fullness, not necessarily caloric fullness. So I'm a big proponent of caloric restriction, i.e. more so, better said, time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting. Did we have some more shout-outs? So we quieted you guys down. In addition, one of the things, now that we covered the interleukin-6, that's really come to the forefront is interesting. There was an article that I was just reading before we came out that the first 7 days of the virus, it replicates. So it's really a viral infection. So the whole point of that viral infection would be to get everything that we're talking about in there so it doesn't replicate, doesn't allow the cytokine storm to start. That cytokine storm really kicks at about day 7 to day 10. That's when people start, day 10, believe it or not, that's when they really start feeling really bad. To caloric restriction in CERT1 levels. So we know CERT1 is our CERT1, citrulline 1. So citrulline, or CERT1, we shortened it, is what we call our super enzyme. It has so many great health benefits. If we can upregulate CERT1, it's a good day. NrF2, CERT1, two great choices. Caloric restriction actually stimulates CERT1. Foods high in oleic acid also will stimulate CERT1. Good call. Lastly, I'm pausing so in case anybody wants a shout out. Lastly, we came across, we now have, and we're going to do a whole Facebook Live tomorrow. I need you guys to let me know if you want me to do 2 lives on it. So we've got COVID-19 antibody test. We have access to that. We can share it with patients. We can also share it with the practitioners. They have an antibody test. It's not FDA cleared yet. It's in process, and you can know the different antibodies. So the reason you want to know the antibodies, and we'll go over it again tomorrow, is there's 2 antibodies in particular that it tests for. It's IgM and IgG. IgM is an immunoglobulin that comes in at a time of early inflammation, so you'll know that it's early and you were attacked with the COVID-19 virus. That usually occurs in the first 5 days, and then after that, swinging to 7 to 10 day, IgG is an immunoglobulin that is produced because of the virus. So if you're positive for them, you know that you have some antibodies, and in theory, if you have antibodies, you have some natural protection from it. That's about all we can say right now. We're going to be taking a test this week. We want to see where we are. I'm going to do a whole Facebook Live tomorrow. Let me know, because if you're interested, I can get the guy who created the 60-second HIV test and is the science officer from the company that has it. He can go through the 2 million test kits and all sorts of things like that. I'll either get him on Tuesday in the afternoon after me, or get him on Wednesday in the afternoon. But I need you to say, yes, test. Let me know, yes, test. Because if you're interested, I'll ask him to come on.
Eric Perez has a question. What about exercise being shown to release large amounts of interleukin 6? Can exercise be detrimental in this aspect?
So Eric, great question, asked about interleukin 6. They show large amount of exercises, and you meant large intense amount of exercises can release interleukin 6. Well, clearly we talked a little bit about your immune health. It's like a J curve. So if somebody's working out 3-4 hours a day, really working out super hard, it may not be the best thing for their immune system. That moderate or high intense interval training, but not for a long period of time, is probably better for immune system. Clearly, if you're not feeling well, obviously, you're not going to be able to work out for 3 or 4 hours. And usually if someone's working out for 3 or 4 hours, they're in really good condition. However, the elevation of interleukins will pose an issue post-exercise, so we recommend all these foods to decrease it. And believe it or not, there's literature on low-level laser in blood to show that there's a decrease in blood fatigue after excessive exercise.
And 2 yeses for a test.
Yeah, if I can see enough yeses, I can get the doc on. I'll give you a preview tomorrow. We'll talk about it, let you know where you can get it, and then we can follow through on a Tuesday or a Wednesday in the later afternoon as a second Facebook Live, and we'll do a Zoom and a split screen, and he'll give you some of the real interesting details. A lot of our patients and a lot of our friends are already ordered the test. In addition to that, a lot of the docs on Saturday in my webinar with FMU also ordered the test. So do we have any shout outs? Nobody's out there?
They are. They're just watching.
They're all watching. Okay. It's so funny. Are you guys trying to tell me I just talk so fast you can't get in a word in edgewise? So every day, don't forget, Monday to Friday, we're going to be on Facebook Live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. In addition, we're going to start to be doing some Instagram Lives. We're posting on LinkedIn. We may even simultaneously do both. So those who do LinkedIn, everybody, Instagram and LinkedIn is drrobertsilverman.com. In addition to that, we have webinars. You guys can reach out to me, DM me. We're doing webinars with Aconia, different nutrition companies, Nutridyne, Functional Medicine University. Just a lot of webinars, And as you guys all know, I need to do a shout out. Should have done it at the beginning. Creative Chiropractic is supporting us. We're working in conjunction through this difficult time. 2 great docs. We got Dr. Mike Warren and Dr. Mike Powell. If you have any questions on the NrF2, he's the guy to really ask about that pathway. And if we don't have any shout outs, this has been my pleasure. Tomorrow we're going to talk all about COVID-19 tests and antibodies. And I'm looking forward to everybody watching. Also, feel free to share this with your friends. And you guys have a very healthy, good day. Dr. Rob, always yours in health.
Oh,
hold on.
Trill has a question.
Okay, Trill, we didn't go. We didn't leave.
When is their webinar on functional web?
Oh, the webinar for Functional Medicine University was just this last Saturday. So you'll see the recording and I can announce it. So all those who watch me on FMU, we're going to do another one because you asked for it. Part 2 will be April 18th at 2 p.m. So we'll have a part 2 to immunity and health, and it'll be the same title with all new leading edge information for everybody. We got such a great response. I do appreciate everybody. We good?
2 p.m. Eastern?
2 p.m. Eastern time, because I'm doing a webinar from 9 to 1, which I'll share with you how you guys can get on that if you'd like, and then answer questions from 1 to 1:30. We'll pick it up at 2 o'clock with FMU. Got a busy Saturday. Why not? There's nothing better. I mean, you know what? Before I had a medical doctor, and everybody knows I'm a chiro. Had a whole group, I won't say from what hospital, and they called me. They were really happy that we were able to share the information. And that makes the heart warm that everybody's coming together to try and help people. And in their particular department, the natural approach, the nutrients just aren't discussed as much because they're dealing with sicker people that they don't necessarily incorporate the supplements and the nutrition with. And they did some IVs and on some of the patients that are in the hospital that are hospital attendees. You know, some of the nurses unfortunately had it, and the response was stellar. So there's a reason why you need to share this information. And the reason is, you can help one person, that one person can help one person. That power of one is helping everybody ultimately in America, across the world, because this is a foe that you can't see. This is a foe that doesn't know race, religion, gender, color, all that. It will attack anybody. It's highly contagious and it's extremely virulent. And our bodies aren't used to it. We have no known antibodies yet to it. We're just starting. So share the information. Let's help everybody out because that's what it's all about.
True wants to know where she can watch the seminar.
FMU?
The webinar, yeah.
The FMU webinar. What I'll do is Trill, are you talking about the one I just did or the one I'm going to do? If you could write that in really fast. Either way, that we'll post a link. We'll post a link. We'll let everybody listen. So if there are no more shout outs, everybody's watching. I'm waving to everybody watching. Let's talk a little bit more tomorrow. I like that extemporaneous question and answer. Everybody, once again, have a great day. It's been my pleasure. Dr. Rob, always yours in health.